What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and this is the BiKER Bar Podcast channel, whatever the hell you want to call it. It is the BiKER Bar. That's what it is. And today we are going to do episode 50. Look at that. This episode 50. This is pretty exciting for me. I'm pretty stoked when I saw that number. I was like, oh wow, I didn't realize that it was like I think it's some kind of mile marker or something like that. It seems like it should be an important episode. So because it's such an important episode, I decided to bring an important guest on today. So for those of you guys that aren't familiar with Josh, he's from the Daily Mountain Bike Rider, MTB Rider. You know, I always screw your name up. Yours and regular guy mountain biking. Is it mountain biking? Biker.
It's I see. Now that you said it, I'm like, I don't know. I think it's a regular guy mountain biking. Anyway, yes, I am the Daily Mountain Bike Rider, or the Daily MTB Rider, which I don't know if I like that as much, but I
feel like you should rebrand as just Daily, either Daily or Daily MTB. That's
most people when they see me say, "Hey, what's up, Josh?" Or usually what I get is, "Oh, you yeah." I'm like, I'm not going to say a word until you tell me what I do. They're like, yeah, you make videos. I'm like, yep, that's me. So that's my two options. Yeah. That guy mountain bike channel. That's what I'm making.
That guy. It's funny. You can always tell when somebody recognizes you and when they're like afraid to say hi to you. Like you'll get that. You can see that look and they're like processing like, is that him? Should I say something?
That's so funny. Like literally like 2 weeks ago, I'm riding with my buddies and they're like, Josh, you're the Daily Mountain Bike Rider. I'm like, you guys are idiots. I said, half the people on Galbraith, which is like Bellingham's biggest trail system, I'm like, half the people don't know who I am. And they're like, oh yeah, I guarantee the next 5 people we see, everyone will know who you are. I'm like, fine. If you really want to bug people, and then literally everyone's like, hey, come here. Hey, you, do you know who this is? And literally there's like one guy's like, oh yes, Josh, I'm from Poland. This is first time in Bellingham. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then like literally like some old 80-year-old's like, oh yeah, you're Josh. And I'm like, I swear, not everyone knows me. You guys just got so lucky. They're like, oh yeah.
Right? We just proved our point, dude. We don't need to do it. Just done.
I haven't ridden with those guys since. I don't plan to ever again.
Right. You're like, that's funny because now I don't know you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, normally I start out the episode and I do a little talk about who sponsored the episode. And today, Josh is actually going to help me out with that because today's sponsor is Tasco MTB, and he has hopefully some good things to say. If not, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But what I wanted to do is there's 3 of their products that I really like. First of all, they just launched a brand new pair of shorts. Have you tried the Scout shorts yet?
I got one of the first sets of them, and I was like, I will tell you guys legitimately how I feel about these because I've never found a short that I felt was like, this is it and has arrived until I tried Tasco's. And I was like, finally, a mountain bike short made by mountain bikers. Like that's how I felt. Yeah.
I really think they're probably the most comfortable pair of shorts that I've ever had.
Yeah.
The only downside that I could say is that it doesn't come with a chamois. So, and they're on the high side of the pricing. I mean, they're $100. So for whatever reason, I'm like frugal when it comes to clothes, but whenever you buy good ones, you actually get what you pay for. So
isn't that funny, dude? Like that's how it is with so much stuff. It's like I don't want to spend that much money on a pair of shorts, and then you actually like do, and you're like, I should have done this forever ago.
Right?
But yeah, they have like 3 pockets, which to me is like the 2 main ones, and then a little tool pocket. That's like the ideal. Yeah. They have tape seams. They're waterproof. They're actually like they're not too thick and not too thin, which I feel like we're like divas right now talking about this, but they work, man.
So the other thing too is they have 2 buttons on them, and like the other pair of shorts that I was riding before had one, and it would pop on me all the time. Like I felt like the Velcro that was around it wasn't big enough. So then I have like no booty, right? So my shorts are always falling off the backside of me. So I'm like trying to tighten them up so that they're not like everybody's not looking at my ass crack the whole time we're riding. And in turn of doing that, then the button on the front would pop up and it just annoyed the shit out of me, right? And so everybody got to see my ass crack instead. So now Tasco has saved all of my friends from seeing their name written on my ass. So
that definitely is like the best review you can give like a pair of shorts. Like, my butt used to fall out, and then my business used to fall out. The first short, I don't have to show the front or the back to my friends. There
right. So those of you guys that are concerned about the cost, you can swing by this link that I have up on the screen. If you're listening, it's bit.ly/B1Tasco, and that'll take you to the Tasco site. And I think it'll have the code already in it for 15%. If for some reason it doesn't, it's Scout Biker, all capital, and B1KER. So you guys could probably figure that out, save like 15%. And that would be cool for me too, because I get a kickback whenever you guys buy anything. So go do that. The other thing I wanted to talk about, man, and this is going to be like the longest intro for a sponsored show, but I really wanted to talk about their summer gloves. Have you ever worn their summer gloves?
Yeah, it's ultralights is what they're called, right?
Yeah, these things here, I got them. They're like recons. That's what they're called. That sounds good to me. I should have looked that up beforehand. They all I wanted to say is when he first brought these out, I saw him at like what was it? Sea Otter. Yeah, it was like Sea Otter last year. And he showed them to me and I was like, oh, okay, cool. A light pair of gloves. Yeah, that's great. You know, and you know, Nate, he's pretty happy and excited about what his new products are. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll check them out. And then he didn't give me a pair, so frugal me wouldn't buy a pair, right? I'm like, I don't need those damn gloves. And so he did give me a pair a few weeks ago, and I wish I would have bought some like a year ago when I saw them, because they are like that comfortable. They're so light, but they still do what they're supposed to do. It's just impressive to me.
And there was a couple of companies, I mean, it was Hand Up and Tasco, who came out with this revolutionary glove, even though it wasn't that revolutionary, but like less padding, more grip feel. And then that is like the next version of it, which you get more grip feel. It's super nice. I love those for the pump track. I wear them on hot days too.
Yeah, I will say, like, getting out of the sponsored by space and actually just having the conversation, I never wore gloves like that before. Like, I always wore gloves that had padding, that were like usually like reinforced fingers, because I had like in my mind I was like punching brick walls when I was riding bike or something. I don't know what I was thinking, but I really felt like the padding was like super important. And I remember like when those gloves came out, like Hand Up and Tasco, I kind of disregarded them because I was like, they're not even pads in them. I'm not wearing that. and then once again, the guy, I think it was the guys at Hand Up gave me a pair, and I was like, well, I got to try them. I mean, I got a free pair of gloves, right?
I got to use them now.
Right. And then I tried them. I was like, oh my God, I actually like these. It's like, this is the story of my life. Like, I am like so anti spending money on anything except for bike parts. So like bike clothing doesn't fall into bike parts. So like,
I feel like I've heard you say something about 29ers in the same vein, so I know eventually you're going to come around, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to get – is that what we're going to talk about now?
I mean, there's only a couple things that you can get me talking for an hour on. But
well, let's do it. Let's do it, man. So I don't know if you're alluding to me talking about my chameleon. I think that's what you're doing.
Hey, Hardtails, hard life. I'm just saying.
Yeah, right. I for those of you guys that don't know, I was pretty staunch about not liking 29ers, and I still feel comfortable in explaining my position at the time. Every time I rode one, I felt like they kind of pointed their own way through the trail, and I didn't feel like it was like me controlling the bike as much as the bike kind of deciding where it wanted to go. And I think what that really equates to is I just didn't feel like the geometry was right, where it was like just felt as snappy as like a 26 and even a 27.5. I mean, it's not quite as snappy as a 26-inch wheel, but it was like, okay, I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of that for what you get back, you know, like the extra rollover and things of that nature, right? So, but the 29er, I could never do it. And when I got that Santa Cruz, that chameleon, it was like the first time I got on one, and like the first ride was like, oh wow, I mean, this feels good.
especially on a hardtail. I feel like hardtails exaggerate differences, right? Because you're going to feel the difference in a rear wheel if you have a carbon or a hardtail versus a full suspension. You're going to feel carbon wheels. You're going to feel, I think trail feel downhill. And that's where 29ers, I think, shine a ton. Better rollability, more speed, more forgiveness, I think, too, because of that. Once again, roots and bumps, you get caught up less, so you can maintain your speed and feel forgiveness. And that's why I fell in love with them. And they're amazing, man.
This is the thing. This is the thing, though. Do you feel like it's just like it dumbs down the trails too? So
that's a super good question. And my answer is no. I feel like 27.5 plus dumbs down the trails and makes your bike feel less leggy, which is interesting.
Yeah, I want to hear this. I'm really actually intrigued at this point.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you really want to have the conversation, then you have to go back, right? So
yeah, let's do it. I mean, we got 2 hours.
Yeah. So it was 2 hours. I thought we were on here for 10. Anyway, so you go back in time. Yeah. When it was 26 and then 29 came on the scene, right?
Yeah.
And this was before I really got into mountain biking, but as I understood, 29-inch wheels were this is the future, but it was on cross country bikes, longer, lower, slacker bikes weren't out yet. And so a lot of 29er bikes, the front fork would feel way too steep. And so you'd feel over the front. It just didn't feel awesome. And then, there was a lot of bikes that came out with 29, but then the one that really changed the game. Do you know what it was, Robert? It's a bike that I own the company of the bike.
Really?
It's Evil. The Evil following came out, which was the short travel 29er.
They were the first ones?
They weren't. No.
I was going to say, yeah. So they were the first one that really made an impact.
Yeah. And
yes,
so
I'll agree with you there 100%.
Yeah. And so they came out with this bike that was short travel, aggressive geometry, still now they're on the following V3, and it's not that much different than the original following. And everyone
you did it right when you can do that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You just be like, yeah, we don't need to change anything.
Yeah, we nailed it. But everyone was yes, they finally found out how to make a 29er not feel too sluggish, not feel too cross country, but actually give you advantages. And then since then, and I would say if you want to look at where trends are going, look at EWS racers. I don't follow EWS racing, Robert. I know you don't follow it that much, probably more than I do.
No, I don't follow it at all.
But I always tell people, name, right now or in the last 3 years, name an EWS rider that uses 27.5. You can't. Almost, I would say 99% of those guys use 29ers.
You could actually stump me just by saying name an EWS rider.
There you go.
I actually don't have a single one.
I mean, there were some YouTubers with me that did an EWS, so technically we are EWS riders.
Oh, you're going to go down that road. Okay.
I was going to be the daily EWS rider, but I thought I might get in trouble. So anyway, so the following comes out and 27.5 is taken over, 650B is taken over for 26. But as the years have slowly trickled on, every single bike company has now switched almost entirely to 29. They still make 27.5, but it's the bike that everybody rides. I think it's better for new people because it's, once again, less rolling resistance, free speed, as people say. And I think it's better for people who have been in the sport longer. And here's the thing. I'm not anti 27.5. I'm anti e-bike. We can get to that later. I think 27.5 has a spot and a place. But I think we're going to see the market be 70, 80% 29ers in the next couple of years.
I think after riding that Chameleon and then since then a couple of other 29ers that I feel like they're really starting to or I'm not a little tongue twisted about it. I guess I can't believe I'm actually going to say it, but they're really starting to dial that geometry in for the wheel. I think when they first came up with the wheel, they were like, oh, this should be a good idea. But they didn't really know what they were doing. You know what I mean? And it's now they got they stopped drinking their own Kool-Aid and they're like, actually, if we tweak this, and we do this, then it'll be better. But the thing to me about it that I feel like it does dumb down the trail. And I feel like, then the trails are just going to get gnarlier and gnarlier to like overcome that kind of dumbed down feeling.
Mhm.
And I don't know, like, is that a good thing? Like, can they get gnarlier and still be like actually good for the environment, or like, are we just setting ourselves up for like every time we wreck, we lose teeth, or what?
But could it you argue a full suspension bike dumbs down the trail compared to a hardtail?
Dude, you're 100% right, man. I think
A hardtail dumbs down the trail from a rigid bike. A rigid bike dumbs down the trail from a gravel bike. So why don't we just all put on spandex and lycra and slap each other's butts and ride gravel bikes?
Now that you put it like that, I'm in.
Dang it, Robert. I knew you'd be like, yeah, you're right. Let's do this.
No, that's a good point, though. That's a really good point, you know? And I guess I think now that you put it in that perspective, to me, it's then, you know, you choose the bike for the trail that you want to, how you want to have the fun, you know? Because that's definitely how I'm choosing with a hardtail. It's like, yeah, this is a pretty messed up trail, but I want to make it more difficult, so I'm riding it on a hardtail.
And that's where, like, if there's no negatives, right? Like, so for me, like, you might say, like, 29ers dumbed down a little bit, and I won't deny that, but
Yeah.
I don't think there's any big negatives. Whereas with a 27.5 plus, there is negatives.
What's the negatives to you on the 27.5 plus?
You have to run lower PSI, and so you're more likely to get a wheel slip or something, or a tire to give out more. And you have less trail feel, whereas a 29er, you're using a same dimension tire. 27.5 plus, you have a bigger size tire, so it's like less feel of the trail, more likely to get looser. And like, I don't know, I this is like not talking like this is what everybody says, but for me personally, I use 27.5 plus on my hardtail when I want my bike to be more forgiving. A little easier on my body. But if I'm going to enter a hardtail race, I'm going to put a 29-inch wheel on there. Because
I think if it's a race, 100% I'd go 29 just because it just moves faster.
Yeah, and interesting, you know, some people are commenting that 29s are an issue for extra small riders, right? If you're 5 foot, I would say if you're 5'6" and under, like, so under 5'7", 5'6" and under, a 29er is probably not meant for you, but they're now making extra small 29-inch bikes for guys like Seth, you know, who are 5'4", 5'5", and want to shred.
Right.
There's a sacrifice, and you have to decide if that sacrifice is worth it. Like we see in the women's EWS, these small women, shorter women are riding 29ers, but for the average shorter person, I think 27.5 makes more sense.
Yeah, I would agree with you there.
Yeah.
I just the standover is the hard part, you know, to really kind of combat when you're pretty short.
Sure.
In the first place. But I don't know. So 27.5 plus though on your hardtail. I did the same thing on the Chameleon and definitely was way better on the back, you know, like
it feels like cheating almost. Like it's so much more comfortable than just a 29-inch wheel.
Were you running CushCore in yours too?
I do have CushCore front and rear on my 27.5 plus. Yeah,
I do as well. I think it makes a huge difference in the stiffening the sidewalls of the tires. So like where you were talking about how they roll or they give a little bit, like you can get that lower pressure on the tire, but then still have that sidewall strength. And then also, I mean, if you're listening to them, it's additional suspension as well.
Yeah, and that like is exactly how I felt. I had on my Rally Tokel, which is what I made my tubeless tire torture test on. A lot of people know about that video. That didn't have CushCore, and then once I got it for my new hardtail, it was like, oh man, this is a game changer. Like I could run lower PSI, have more traction. It was just a win all around.
Yeah, I really, really enjoy it for my my hardtail without a doubt. The guy last week that was from Envy, he wasn't a tire insert like enthusiast, so he kind of made me think about taking it out of my full suspension bike.
Did he give a reason why? Because what I usually hear is people who don't run them for the front, but I know very few people that would take them out of the rear.
Yeah, I think he was just talking about, in his perspective, one of the main reasons that people run inserts is for rim protection.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not the reason I have CushCore. Like it's just like the CushCore guys would say, it's a side effect that's an extra benefit, but it's not the reason that I put CushCore in my wheels. But he was talking about it more from that perspective, and he's like, of course, talking about some new changes to the NV rims that they have a little bit of a wider. I don't know how to explain the part, like where your brake pads used to rub, like that's a little bit wider, so that way when you do have low pressure and you would get like maybe a snake bite, that it wouldn't cut through the tire. So and then I'm sure that it sounded to me like the weight difference as well was a reason that he didn't want them there, which I can understand, especially coming from somebody that works for a wheel company. You want your wheels to be as light as possible, and then somebody's like throwing another half pound in it.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it really is yes, it's a rim protection, but I can run lower tire pressure, which means I get more grip.
Yeah.
I have more sidewall stability. So I used to run like 29 PSI and I couldn't get any lower for my rear tire. Now I run 24 and I could probably go a little lower if I want to. And for my front tire, and this is where I know the CushCore guys would be like, no, I'm like, for my front tire, I'm fine without CushCore.
Those guys will lose their mind if they heard that.
I still run it out of respect for them, because I'm like, man, they made such a good product, and they are telling everybody like, please don't just run it for the rear.
Yeah.
But I personally, like, I can get away with still 20, 21 PSI in the front tire without CushCore, and I don't notice it like I instantly notice it on the rear tire.
Yeah. I can see that. I mean, you're not weighting the front tire as much as you are on the rear, so like, usually if you're feeling squirrely because your pressures aren't good, it's because you're feeling that back tire kind of roll on the rim. At least that's the best way that I don't. Very seldomly have I gone down the hill and been like, oh, I feel like the pressure's a little low on my front tire. You know what I mean?
It's either like it's absolutely about to fall off, or like, oh, that's fine. Like, that's my mind. Yeah.
You're like, I don't know what that sound is, but it sounds like rocks whenever I
Yeah. But I was gonna say, like, to round off our discussion, like, at the end of the day, for me, if you're 5'8", if you're 5'7", even, get on a 29er. You'll never regret it. And that's going to be where the industry goes. So like, you'll always have the right wheel size.
I feel like that it's the way that they're putting their research right now. So like, no matter what, that's where they're spending their R&D money. That's what you're going to see coming out. And at the end of the day, as a consumer, like, we're going to buy what's on the shelf, right?
Yeah.
So if they decide they're not making 26 or 27.5 anymore, like, it doesn't matter how much we like it, they're going to be like, hey, well, this is what we're selling. So
True. But I think mullet bikes, especially for downhill bikes, are pretty cool. I do like
I haven't ridden one yet. So that's the smaller wheel in the back, right? The 29er up front and the 27.5 in the back.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I'm thinking about building one, and I'm pretty stoked on the idea.
What's the idea there?
Well, the idea is, on a 29er, you, like, when you think about going into a trail, right? Let's say you're like going into a steep section. Your front wheel gets more traction. That's why we have fatter knobs on it, right? It's the one that's directing you, which you want to be grippier and keep your speed going. Whereas your back wheel really just follows. Now, when you're like carving into a flat turn or a big berm, like, your rear tire does a lot, but then again, it really is just following where the front tire is picking. And the other thing too is, like, for downhill bikes, if you're doing whips or getting big air, a smaller tire is more maneuverable, which is what you want for the rear, whereas the front tire is more planted. So a planted front, a more movable. Yeah,
that's
rear.
A good word. Sounds
there.
Good.
We go. but to me, I'm very curious. Like, I think most people, unless they're in the industry, are afraid to spend that much money to get two different wheel sizes, because it's two different tires. It's, if something goes wrong, you have two different spoke sizes. Like,
it sounds like a mess.
Yeah, but we'll see. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I'm sure there'll be a new, like, there'll be another tire size yet, I'm sure.
That's a hot take.
Yeah, right. Or it's only a matter of time until like the 26 comes back, right? I mean, like, think about it. Bell bottoms came back. Like, nobody ever thought bell bottoms would ever be cool again. And then they were for a minute. And it was like, what the heck just happened?
If 26 becomes a thing again, I'll sell all my bikes and only buy e-bikes from now on. Like that, I guarantee it will never happen.
That was a pretty tall freaking order that you laid out there, dude.
Dude, just try to make 26 come back, and no one's gonna go for it.
Nobody's gonna do it.
Everyone's gonna be like, "We did this once before. We ain't going back."
Right? Who knows, man? Maybe the penny farthing will come back then, right? You know what that is?
I feel like I've heard it, but I don't know.
It's the bike with the huge front wheel and the like little tiny back wheel.
Oh yeah. I'm down with that. I'm down with that.
So there was actually, I know I've talked about this on one of my podcasts before, but I read a story about a guy that rode one of those cross country, but like back when there was not freeways. Like, so could you imagine going like through Tahoe on a bike like that and just because you're just hardcore as a MFer, right? You know?
That's like how I feel about hardtail riders. Like as a hardtail rider, it's like you can act like it's all fun and games, but like at the end of a gnarly trail, you're like, I hate the decisions I make. And I'm sure that's what that guy said in the middle of Tahoe. Like, why am I the way that I am?
If that guy was born today, he'd be doing like Ride the Divide on a single speed, right?
Yeah, on a single speed fixie, just like, what's wrong with you guys?
Yeah,
like, oh my
you need
gosh.
brakes.
Yeah. No, yeah. I don't have brakes. I just have a fixie and just pedal backwards. Goodness.
That'll be the next big thing in mountain biking, dude. I can feel it now. Who needs brakes? Dude? They just weigh too much, man. We didn't use brakes when I rode BMX back in the day because of that. You know? We're like, too much weight, man.
Just grip it and whip it, boys. Let's go.
Let me show you how many pairs of shoes I can burn through using my foot as a brake.
Yeah.
So, those are good times, though, man. Did you ride BMX when you were younger?
No, I was a skateboarder when I was younger.
You were a skateboarder. You know, I could never ollie, so I was like, I'm sticking with bikes.
I can ollie for like 3 years, and people are like, "Welcome to skateboarding." I'm like, "Cool, yeah, this is fun. This is fun."
I just tried and tried and tried. I was like, I think this is like something's physically wrong with me.
I feel like that's like. I was gonna say, I feel like that's like mountain biking, like going up a hill. Like anytime you take somebody for the first time, they're like, "How do you do this?" You're like, "We've only made it a quarter mile." Like, we didn't
get to the shitty part yet, man.
Yeah. We're in the parking lot still. Yeah.
I haven't even got to the part where I'm going to lie to you about how much further we have to go.
Yeah, exactly. And then like that's how you can tell who's going to be a mountain biker. It's like they get done with their first ride and they're like dead tired. They're like, this sucked. And they're like, okay, I might consider doing it again. You're like,
yeah. They were like, that was the worst day of my life. I'm buying a bike tomorrow.
Yeah. That's what I say after every time I ride. It's like, I hated that, but I'm going to do it again. This is awesome.
That was like, no, you definitely like were pretty good spot on there with how you feel after riding your hardtail on a rocky trail. Yeah. You're like, man, that was really fun, but my God, my back just feels like it's just done.
Yeah, for me, like it's always like I'm so extroverted that I say hi to everybody on the trail, but at the top of a gnarly trail, it's always like you can tell people are like, oh, this guy thinks he's cool with this hardtail. He thinks he's gonna have a good time. And I'm like, what's up, guys? Like, you're impressed. And then at the end, you're like, oh my, like I'm like, why did I do this? Like I have a full suspension bike. I should have taken that one. And then at the end, like they come like, well, they're waiting for me at the bottom, or they come by behind me. They're like, hey, how was it? You're like, oh, that was great, man. Yeah, hardtail. That was fine. They go away. You're like, I hate my life. Ugh. Right.
The best part though is like beating one of your buddies on the full suspension when you're on the hardtail. Though it just feels so good. Like there's like no matter what, like C-Lock. I ride with him a lot. For those of you guys that don't know him, and he's got a pretty what would you say, like a gruff persona.
Oh yeah. A little rough. So, it just seems like he's having a bad day.
Yeah, but he's actually not. Yeah. And so like whenever I beat him down this local trail on my hardtail, he's like, well, I beat you the next day. I'm like, yeah, but I beat you on a hardtail. It doesn't matter if you beat me the next day. That's great. but I beat your time on your full suspension on my hardtail. So just shut up. It's done.
Yeah. That's like
I lost my headphones. You're still there. I just can't hear anything that's going on.
Well, this is where I tell you, you paid me to be on here. Anyway, hey, welcome.
Oh, wow. Just like that.
Yeah.
Sweet. Send me a
talked
bill.
about our, what's the, like, do not disclose, like the, you paid me to be on here. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
But yes, no, that is very
Whatever
true.
you do, don't cash that check. You might get in trouble.
That's why I took my hardtail like to crabapple hits, because I was like, I've never done this. I've wanted to do it. I still haven't done the whole thing, but I'm like, I want to do it, but I'll bring my hardtail first, because anything I do, if I'm on a hardtail, it's like, dang, that's impressive. If I bring my full suspension bike and I like wuss out on the last jump, people are like, no, you got one more to do. But hey, the guy's on a hardtail, hot dog. That guy's pretty good.
If you had to have one or the other for the rest of your life and that was it, would you do the hardtail or would you do the full suspension?
I would do the full suspension.
Yeah,
I think
feel like
anybody, I don't know anybody who, if they were honest, would pick a hardtail.
Yeah.
I always want a hardtail. It brings me great joy. I ride my bikes 50% hardtail, 50% full suspension, but I always will pick a full suspension.
I'm probably riding my hardtail more than I'm riding my full suspension bike.
Then you're probably not riding hard enough trails.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of it though, is like Tahoe's just now opening up. Yeah. So as soon as we start going up into Tahoe, like it's full suspension all day long. But when we're down here where I live in Sacramento and the NorCal area, like a lot of what we ride around here isn't like super chunky, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and my local trails, like you can get away with a hardtail, no problem. And it makes it more enjoyable. So that's why I ride it so much.
Yeah. You guys have like the like hero dirt up there for days, don't you?
Yeah.
It's like perfect all the time, huh?
Right now is like pretty good timing, right? Like if you can get a couple of strings of like 2 sunny days and then a rainy evening and then like 2 sunny days, the dirt's just primo all day long.
Because you didn't live up there. Like I want to say you lived in Arizona before.
Yeah, I moved here from Arizona. I was in Phoenix for 1.5 years and never rode mountain bikes there, which is still one of my biggest regrets, especially after riding Sedona back in March. Like biggest regrets was I didn't ride mountain bikes there.
Was that your first time in Sedona?
Not my first time there, but my first time riding there.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. So you went there for something else, but that was your first time riding mountain bikes in Sedona.
Yeah, I went there just, dude, Sedona to me is, and I think it is like the N+1, like every new bike is like the best bike you've ever ridden, but every best place you go is the best. I loved it. Like I loved, I think it was the festival as well is what I loved. Like, and you talked about it before.
Yeah.
No. It's great. But I love that it is so different than what my trails are here. Like it's all rock and shale and like this red dry dirt. I loved that. The first thing I did was go to the White Line. I'm like, no one's here. I'll just do it anyway. Like that was fun. But I
watched that video of yours, and you're like, if I remember correctly, you're just like, oh, this is not that bad. Oh, this is really you like made it seem like you were riding like on a sidewalk in the park, and you're like, I don't see what the big deal is. And I was like, Josh, seriously.
Here's the thing. And like, if you watch my whole video on it, at the end, I do say like, like this is a difficult trail, but in reality, the White Line isn't that difficult. And anybody who's ridden it knows, like, they're like, hey, it's like, Eric Porter says it really well, right? Who rides for Diamondback, Seth's friend. He was like, what is it? He says, low risk, high consequence.
Yeah.
So it's actually not that risky because you can always like dab a foot. There's a whole like area that like, if worst case scenario, you fell, the way you shouldn't on a side slope, you'd have stuff to grab on, right? But the chances of you doing that, like you think about that on an off-camber section, if you're riding this way, like the chances of you falling like the opposite way of towards the hill is slim to none. But if you do, there's high consequence.
Yeah.
And so when I rode it, like I didn't even walk out there. I'm just like, no, I'll just go for it. And as I'm riding, like I feel my knobs are like grabbing and I can feel like my rear wheel is slipping a little bit. But I'm the kind of guy in my head, I'm like, okay, my rear wheel is slipping, but worst comes to worst, it completely slips out. And what do? I just take a step and I'm fine. Right. or I just like slide on my butt and I'm fine. Like it's really not that bad.
In my mind, the way that plays out in that type of situation, I could think of like Chevy Chase in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, whenever they spray the Crisco stuff all over his sled and he just like takes off like a rocket. That's what I would be thinking was happening if I get like nervous watching people's videos on that trail. Like I'm actually standing there. Like it's like my stomach, it's like, I cannot handle it. It's so painful for me to watch.
Dude, and my buddy Luke was there and he was down at the base filming, and like me and Luke are just like idiots all the time to each other. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna go do it. And he was like, dude, like this probably isn't a good idea. I'm like, whoa, like get weirdly serious on me. He's like, dude, this is kind of sketchy. I wouldn't do it. I'm like, shut up, dude.
like you have children, Josh.
And that's what a lot of people have told me. But yeah, at the end of the day, like I will stick to here's the thing, and like hear what I'm saying, don't hear what I'm not saying.
Right.
I don't think the white line is that hard. I think anybody who is an avid advanced mountain biker is going to be totally fine and have a good time. You have to have experience with the rock rolls or else you're going to have a terrible time.
Right.
But I also, in that same vein, I think most people will choose not to do it and should not do it.
Yeah.
And so like, and I say that by like, most people will look at it and go, I don't want to do that. And I would tell people, then don't do it. If you're not comfortable, don't do it. If you're an advanced rider and you're like, yeah, I think I got that, then you'll do great. You'll be fine.
Yeah. I'd like to go up there and just see it in person. I know that like, I know myself, there's absolutely no way I could ever ride that trail unless like I go to hypnotherapy and like somehow completely forget how I'm afraid of heights, like deathly afraid of heights. I just know from like other trails that I've been on in Sedona that that's not in my carts, but I'd love to see it in person just to like really get an understanding of like how bad it or how good it is. You know what I mean? Cause like some of that stuff, like the GoPro effect is real, right? So like, you could get up there and be like, dude, it's hella flatter up here than it actually looks. Or, you know what I mean? Like, I want to like understand it in person. I just don't even know if I could walk out there from what I've seen on videos.
And for me personally, I thought in real life, it was easier than what it looked like on a GoPro.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first times I felt that. Now, so for the white line, you have the traverse out, and then you have the down part, and then you have the traverse back. The traverse back
realistically, the down is that's the kicker right there, right?
Yeah.
There's like a step up in the middle of the first traverse too. I think that's kind of a funky one.
The first traverse is like that's where you decide if you're going to do it or not, and that's pretty intimidating. The turn and the downhill, that's where if you don't have experience riding a slab or a rock, you're going to have a terrible time. Yeah,
it's not going to be good.
And it's one of those things like
when you say terrible, like you're going to go over the cliff and like,
oh yeah, like you're going to die, and like anybody filming is going to be like, I'm going to make millions on YouTube from this idiot. But if you have experience, and I had to tell myself like, hey, I've seen so many people do this. I know I can do this. My brain is telling me I'm not going to stop, but I know I'm going to stop. And sure enough, I stopped. Like that's like, and that's where it comes. Like once again, if you're advanced in your experience, you'll be fine. If you're not, that is what would hurt you. I'm trying to think. I've seen a couple people do big slabs that didn't have the skills for it. And there's nothing more terrifying than that because they go way too fast. Their bike always goes flying, and it's scary.
Yeah, you have to get that braking right for slabs. You know, that's the one thing that I know whenever I first started some of the bigger rock rolls in Tahoe, like my back brake would end up sliding, or like my back wheel would slide out on me. So it's like I'm not using enough front brake, or I'm just grabbing that too much because I'm like scared out of my mind. I don't know what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's
What,
where
what's caused that? I don't even know. Do you know what causes that? What would make my rear wheel slide out? Probably just too much rear brake.
yeah, I mean the reason your rear wheel slides out is because all of your weight is on your front wheel.
Yeah.
And so you need to brake like 80 to 90% with your front brake.
Yeah.
And then like 20 to 10 in your back brake. And so literally like for me, like I'm like fully pulling my front brake until I think it's gonna like slide out, which is a lot of brake.
Yeah.
And the back wheel I'm just barely pulling on. So that's why. Yeah.
I just go faster now. I'm like, screw it.
Well, and I think what a lot of people don't realize, I saw this in Sedona with Shane, the Crashing Dad, and RC Outdoor Gold. Those guys got super intimidated on a pretty steep rock slab.
Mm-hmm.
And a big thing that I noticed was their body position. When we get afraid on something steep, we lean backwards. And that puts more weight on the rear wheel, which is not where your weight should be. Like it's like they lacked the confidence to like be neutral on the bike, which way heavily weights your front wheel. And so for a lot of people, that's what I think happens too. Is like the fear gets inside of them and they're not in the ready stance.
Yeah,
and that
makes sense. No, that totally makes sense. That's probably what my problem is. I'm scared. I'm scared.
Don't be scared. It's okay, guy.
Right. Yeah. So back to, I guess we were talking about Sedona and what I love about that place. The festival itself, I think, is just as good as the trails. And I think that's what makes that place so fun. And like C-Lock, ever since we went, he's like, dude, we got to go back. Let's go back. And I'm like, no, man, I don't want to mess it up. Like right now, I look forward to that event all year. If I start going there when it's not the event, then it's going to lose its charm, right? I don't know. At least that's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, and it's funny. I talked to Jeff Kendallweed a little bit before I went, and he goes to Sedona a lot because he has like relatives that live there. And he's like, "Yeah, like Sedona's fun." But then I went there. I'm like, "Man, like it is the festival. Like it is the environment of like all your buddies and hundreds and thousands of people everywhere who love what you love. Like just hanging out, having a good time. Like it makes a huge difference."
Yeah, and I think the festival is like big enough that it's like, hey, there's some cool stuff to go look at, but it's not like sea otter big where you're like, there's just too much. I can't handle it. You know, like
you know what it is it's this. Maybe this sounds bad, but it's like sea otter without the stuff that mountain bikers don't care about. Like, if you take cross country and gravel and like all that out of it, like that's like more than I would argue half of sea otter or not more. And that's what makes it so internationally drawn in. But if you just take mountain biking, like enduro riding, like what Sedona offers, that's like everything you want in one place.
Well, and I think it's cool because it's like you can get on fun, even if you just ride the little quarter-mile trails that are right in the event, and that's it. Even if that's all you rode the whole weekend, you'd still have fun.
You'd have a good time, man.
But like you can go from that to like you can pedal out of there and get to stuff that's like top of your skill level. You know what I mean? Real easily. And where if you're at Sea Otter, like, let's be honest, like there's no good riding there. Like the only good riding is like an hour away from there. You know, it's like
when I went, like Paul, the punter, didn't bring a bike. He's like, yeah, I don't need a bike. And I'm like, what? So of course I brought mine and raced, and I was like, yeah, you don't need a bike. Like unless you're gonna go to Santa Cruz. There's
I think I said the same thing to you because you were like, are you riding? And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna bring a bike, but if you want to ride them, if you want to ride Santa Cruz, I will.
Yeah. And I just like my brain was like, why would a mountain bike festival be at a place where no one likes to ride? And then half the people were in spandex and like slapping each other's butts, and I was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. Right. I'm gonna get so much hate mail. Like, you think all we do is slap each other's butts? I'm like, well, that's what I would do if I was wearing latex. So sorry.
Wait, you upgraded them from spandex to latex too. That's awesome.
I'm sorry. Oops. Oh gosh. This is awkward.
Oh, that's just great.
You need to make a little video about this, just how Josh really feels about road bikers.
Right, just clip it all together. Like,
oh gosh,
it'll just be you saying slapping butts for like 30 seconds, sort of like that old infomercial. You're gonna love my nuts. It'll be like, you're gonna slap my butts. You're gonna slap my butt.
Yeah, why don't you ride road bikes, Josh? I just don't want people to touch my butt that much, you know. I don't like latex either. What in the world?
They're like, what kind of road bike are you riding? Well, some people pay for that in Amsterdam.
Spandex, not latex. But anyway, no, yeah, Sedona was everything I wanted, and yeah, and somebody commented too, and I totally agree. Like, the festival makes Sedona great, but like if you just went to Sedona and rode bikes, it would still be 10 out of 10. Like the trail diversity, it's awesome.
The only thing that I can say is we had a running joke in our last trip about Arizona downhill, and Arizona downhill is like 60% climbing. So that's the only thing.
So true. That's so true.
You're like, oh, I finally made it to the top. I'm going to go down. You're like, no, you're not.
Joke's on you. All right, everybody, get ready to go down. Keep those saddles up. Let's go.
But no, it's definitely fun. I look forward to that event every year. I'm sad to think that there's going to be a year that for some reason I'm not able to go, you know, and until then I'll just keep enjoying it. And Phoenix is great riding too. So.
And it's a shame I didn't get to ride there when I lived there or this last trip. But no, like actually that's funny that you talk about the uphill and the downhill. Because here in Washington, every trail almost, you put your saddle up, you're on a fire road or you're on like an awful climb and you just go upward in like the lowest 3 gears. And then you turn around, drop the saddle, and you use your lowest 3 gears to go down for like 10, sometimes 20 minutes, like a 20-minute downhill. And so what I rode Bentonville in October when it was awful for outer bike, and then I rode Sedona.
That was super wet and muddy, and
and like people would always like talk about like, and you and I have had this conversation with other people as well. It's like, would you rather have modern suspension or a dropper post? And I heard all these people are like, oh, a dropper post. I'm like, you guys are lunatics, right? Like you can just drop your saddle. Then I went to Sedona and it's like, yay, time for the downhill. And then like 2 minutes later, I'm like, why am I pedaling up a super steep incline, right? Or like hangover. Like hangover is like, I think you feel hungover afterwards because of how much pedaling you have to do while going downhill.
I don't know if I don't know which one's which, Highline or Hangover. I rode one of those H1s last time. I can't remember which one. You
rode Highline. You would have never forgotten the name if you rode Hangover. Yeah, we took Joseph on Hangover, and I felt bad afterwards. That's how bad it was.
You know, honestly, I rode Highline, and a bunch of people told me that, oh man, there's a lot of exposure up there. There was like zero exposure that bothered me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Highline. Like I think it's double black, but I think it's very friendly. Like anybody can go and have a good time and skip a couple features. But Hangover is not friendly. It's very unfriendly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have to definitely check that one out on my never do list.
Yeah. If you're just like, if you wake up that morning and you're like, I don't know why, I just feel like kicking myself in the nuts a couple times. Right. You go ride Hangover, and that'll be about what it feels like.
That's kind of how I felt about Highline. Honestly, I felt like it was like I felt like I've ridden other things in Sedona that were more fun altogether than the couple of spots of Highline that were really fun. And then getting out of Highline, we had to come back up this trail called Templeton, which is exactly like what you just said, like a big kick in the nuts, especially after like at that point we'd been riding for like 4 days straight too. It was like, oh, I'm done. I don't even know why I'm doing this sport right now.
I literally was just going to ask, did you climb out of after Highline, or did you do the smart thing and have somebody park at the bottom?
Yeah, I didn't know that was an option.
Yeah, me and RC did that, and I was like, I like Highline. And he's like, dude, if you climbed out, you would not like it like you do right now.
I think, I don't know, did you ride Slim Shady while you were there?
I didn't.
Yeah, if you do, there's go park at the beginning of Slim Shady, you go out Slim Shady the whole way, come back on some trail, I think it's called Easy Breezy, and then you'll like kind of ping your way back over to the middle of Slim Shady, and then you'll do the other half of Slim Shady that you climbed at the beginning. You'll do that on the down back to the car, and that's a really fun loop. Like it's just playful. It's not like super intense and like technical. It's just like the right amount of speed, the right amount of drops, the right amount of like things that are, you're just like, dude, that was an awesome time, you know?
Yeah. And that is like, that's what mountain biking is about, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a fun mix of stuff, not just like
Yeah.
deathly terrible techie climbs like Hangover was. But once again, I'm an odd duck. I love that. I love climbing. Like I really do. So I don't mind it that much. But when you're on a 4-day trip, it's very nice not to have to climb.
Yeah. You would have enjoyed being an Arizona mountain biker then, because that's the one thing I noticed. Those guys all like to climb techie stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's like kind of thing, like I think it's their thing because they don't have any shade. So they're like, we gotta make this more fun somehow.
Our brains are baked by the sun anyway. Let's try to climb that. That sounds fun. Yeah. Yeah. And that's like, I don't like, I thought I knew what techie climbs were until I went to Sedona. And I'm like, I literally was like, have you been downhill? And then you answer that question and the answer is like, no. But I'm like go ride Downeyville and then go to Sedona and like you'll see like a steep, like it looks like a stairway that you can try to climb up on your bike, and you're like, why would I do that if I can go ride downhill for like 20 minutes straight?
Right.
That's dumb, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the riding here, I mean, you've ridden in my area as well, but like the riding here is kind of like what you explained. It's usually like a big like grinding climb and then a long payoff, you know? And so when you ride somewhere back like that, or back east where it's just punchy, you really realize how important that dropper seat is.
Yeah.
Because it's just like it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. You know, you're like, holy cow, man, this thing's getting worked, you know?
Yeah. And I would do fine in trails like that. Like, you know, someone said Austin, or I know like the Midwest even. It's like, yeah, like I am the type of person that's like, find the beauty in wherever you're at, right? Like find what's good about it. But then again, comparatively, like once again, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. It's like the Mecca, the motherland.
Yeah.
If I had a choice, I'm gonna pick the slow climb up and long descent down. Yeah,
no, I mean, to me, it's like it's fun too, you know. That's you end on a downhill. There's some places around here where people are like, you have to end on an uphill, kind of like demo. We were talking about demo earlier.
Oh yeah,
demo is like, for those of you guys that don't know, it's called Sequel Demonstration Forest, and it's down in the Santa Cruz, I guess you would call mountain hills. I don't know what they are. They're probably mountains. So some like a coastal range or something. Anyways, there's like, it looks like the PNW there when you're riding. Like it's like a bunch of ferns and pretty good dirt. But it's like a nasty climb into the trails and a nasty climb out. Like you climb both sides of it. I don't know how it's possible to climb in and out, but you do.
Do you? So I've never ridden demo, which is a shame. But do you park like halfway, basically? Then,
essentially, yeah. You kind of
so you like pedal up, go way down, and then pedal back up.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
Well, and what usually happens is you kind of like do. There's two main trails that people do. It's the flow trail and the braille trail. And so what you'll do is you'll come down flow, and then you'll end up kind of climbing back up to the top of the mountain again to come down braille, and then you'll climb out. And at that point, you're just like, if you do that, like all of that climbing, it's like a 4,000 foot day.
Really?
Like, yeah. So like I will usually cheat my way up the first climb. We'll take a car up there. Yeah. And they just put in a new gate, which kind of like doesn't let you get all the way to the top anymore. But even at that, it's still going to be like a 2,500 foot day if you do braille and flow.
Like a 4,000 foot, you mean?
No, like 2,500 foot if you drive the first climb.
That's a lot, man.
Yeah, no, it's a big day. It's a big day, and there's not supposed to be e-bikes out there. You see people all day long on the e-bikes. So with Robert, let's get into it.
E-bikes.
So I know Shut Up and Ride does a little podcast interview, and he was like pretty proud that every like mountain bike YouTuber was pro e-bikes except for one. Who was the one?
You know what? since we're talking about e-bikes, I'm going to say I have no idea who this shut up and ride guy is. I don't care if his name's Mike or Matt. I don't care if he's a professor at a college or he's a hobo. E-bikes suck. No, I'm just kidding. I love Matt. So let's start with this. You just nailed something so perfectly. You said e-bikes aren't allowed at demo, and you see e-bikes all the time. My local trails, that people complain all the time. Why do I like on Facebook? Why do I keep seeing e-bikes? Aren't these not allowed? Turns out they're absolutely not allowed. But everyone and their brother has one up there. And my question is, why? Like, why is it a good idea to have an e-bike? Like, let's just start with that question.
All right.
What is the point of an e-bike?
Do you want me to play like good cop and you play bad cop or something like that? Is that what we're doing? Because I can tell you the argument. The argument that people that I hear most of the time is you can cover more miles in less time.
Yes.
So they're like,
absolutely.
hey, I'm a new father and I only get 2 hours to ride, so I can go out and bang out 30 miles instead of 6.
Yeah. Great point, right? So it's like, yeah, I'm a new father, therefore I can get more time on the trails. Or, yeah, I'm a busy person, and so then I can get more out of the trails.
Right.
What's like mountain biking it's fun to go down, but like it's about the community.
Right.
It's about building and maintaining the trails that you ride. And e-biking basically takes that culture and craps on it, right? Like, even if your friends have an e-bike, like, I have so little time, I'm just going to go get 5 laps in the time it would normally take me to do 2. And then I can say, screw it and go do my own thing. Okay. So you're just basically, you're taking the good out of a sport and abusing that and not doing the rest that's good. Right. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's about community. It's about camaraderie. Mm-hmm. And yes, one day everybody might have an e-bike, mm-hmm. but I see a lot of people solo on e-bikes just trying to get hot laps in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and again, I don't know. Yes, you can do more laps, but do you need to do more laps? Is that really that helpful?
For me, the spot where I think about it as being really fun. Did I take you to Auburn when you were here? I can't remember if we rode Auburn.
I did not ride Auburn.
Okay. So Auburn has a pretty good, it's like a 3-mile climb at this one section. I mean, there's probably 50 miles of trails there, but there's this loop that a lot of people do. It's 3 miles up and 3 miles down, let's say, right? And there's also some shoot off trails that you could do that go down in a different direction into an OHV park. And sometimes we'll shuttle that, just hey, we want to have fun today. We're just going to shuttle this up and down. And I feel like if I had an e-bike, then we wouldn't have to shuttle. We could go up there and we could do laps and have that that kind of day and not be shuttling around, for hours. At the end of the day, you maybe did 5 laps, but you spent 2.5 hours in the car, driving up and down a hill, right? Resetting cars and stuff. Yeah. So to me, that's where I feel like it would be really fun in that kind of circumstance, or where it would be so instead of us spending all that time in the car, maybe we got, 6 or 7 laps in and actually we're pedaling the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's where I'm not an idiot. I'm not. Somebody's like, "What's this guy's problem? He doesn't want to do more laps." I'm like, "No, of course I want to do more laps. That's why I go to a bike park, right? That's set up for that." But and that's my thing, right? We have bike parks that take away all the climbing.
Yeah,
and that's a shame. You should they're not too. Yeah, it's a drive. But anyway, that's solves the problem. Do we really need to take the bike park aspect and bring it into our local trails?
Yeah.
Or for me, we have a lot of climbing here in the Pacific Northwest. There's 2 areas. One's called Chuckanut that you can shuttle, but a lot of times the road is closed because there's wash away like there is now. And I'm yeah, you know what? It would be nice to have an e-bike to be able to do more laps. Another one is just recently a legalized trail, and there's might be other trails there. I won't name what it is, but that's one area that's literally it's a 2,000 foot climb up and there's a road. And I'm yeah, and the e-bike is way more advantageous there. I want to say e-bikes might be allowed there. I don't even know, but yes, I get it. For that, it would be fun. But then again, like part of me like likes the workout, likes the difficulty. And that's the thing. Are we taking away all the difficulty in e-bikes and just making it where people can abuse the system more? Or
have you ridden one? Have you ridden one on a trail?
I haven't. And I've always said like, I'll never ride an e-bike. I think I would. Like I would like to try one. But I know what's going to happen. It's going to feel fun. It's going to be great to get to the top, but it's not going to feel as fun going down because it's a heavier bike. We talk about like plowing, like you plow on those things because they're so fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, Specialized new one is only like 37 pounds.
And it costs $37,000.
Yeah, right. But I mean, it's not. So, I mean, you're going to see that weight continue to drop. The battery technology is going to get better. The weight's going to continue to drop. And some of that weight in the spot that is in is not that bad. Like I know when I rode the Zeroed bike doesn't have a battery, but it does have a gearbox, which is weighing a lot of weight, and it's there in the center of the bike. And that thing, I have never felt so confident in corners as that bike, because the way that weight was, it just like, it felt like having a keel on the turns, you know?
Well, and on the Zero, you don't have as much weight on the back, and so that makes it lighter for your suspension too. So that feels great. Yeah, and here's my thing, and like I know e-bikes are our future. They're not going away. They're
you're just like, I'll just talk about 29ers.
Yeah, like, and once again, I'm not a slow adopter. I'm usually an early adopter. I pre-ordered my Tesla truck. I have a one wheel, which is like electric. I love electric stuff, but for some reason, e-bikes, like I know they're coming. I know the train's left the station and there's no way we can get it back. And one day everyone's going to have an e-bike, but I'm not sure about it, man. I'm just not sure.
I feel like it's just going to be another one in the stable. I don't necessarily feel like it's going to like stop us from buying bikes that don't have a battery. You know what I mean? Like, you really think that it'll get to a point where like you can't find a regular like chain bike, you know, like a regular pedal bike, you know?
I do, because if it is, you know, a 3 pound difference, a 5 pound difference, and the price tag comes down because of new battery technology, right? Are you really like, if 90 or 80% of people, like if the price difference is like $500 or like, let's say $1,000 is the difference. It's a lot of money, but nice YT is $2,400. If you can get the same spec with an e-bike, you know, engine, whatever they call them.
Yeah. Whatever it is.
For $3,400 and it's only 3 pounds heavier. Every single person is gonna buy the e-bike.
Yeah. I think the only thing, that makes me sad to think about. Like, honestly, it does, because I agree with you, man. There's a certain, like, regardless of my belly, it may be hard to believe, but I enjoy the climbing. I enjoy that, like, that part of the ride where you feel like you really truly accomplished something. And I don't feel like I would get the same feeling from the e-bike. I feel like I would have fun, but I don't feel like I would feel so accomplished. Like, you wouldn't like it's like driving to the top of a mountain to see the view versus like hiking up there. Like, you're like, dude, I earned this, you know?
But I don't know if you've seen, Robert, like the data is in, and that's actually not true. E-bikes allow you to cover twice the distance, but at the end of an e-bike ride versus a regular ride, you burn the same calories.
Yeah.
So you just get to ride twice as much. So just imagine you burn half the calories going uphill, and then you have so much energy, you do it again.
Yeah.
So you burn the same amount, get twice the downhill.
I totally understand what you're saying. I still don't feel like mentally that would make me feel better.
And this is where I am sane enough and not naive enough to realize like that is the future, even if I'm not stoked on it, even though I do like.
Do you agree with me though? Like, would you feel that way too? Like, do you feel like you would be satisfied that you did 2 laps and you're like same fitness out of it? Or like to me, I feel like it's like you put the sweat equity in to get up there. And I feel like with the motor, it's like, it's kind of like,
once again, like if you told me like, hey, you're gonna get twice the laps and yet burn the same calories in the same amount of time, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, okay, yeah.
So then why the hell do you hate e-bikes, dude? You just explained to me why you're totally okay with them, but then you're like, no, but I hate them.
I did not say I'm okay. I said I know this is the future. Why am I not okay with them? I think it's for second to the downhill.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I enjoy most about mountain biking is, and this is getting real deep, but like this is just who I am. We live in an instant gratification culture that hardly ever slows down to smell the roses and enjoy people. When else in your life do you get to spend a half hour or an hour where everybody who you're hanging out with doesn't check their phone, isn't distracted by anything else, out in the middle of nature, like just talking to you? Like, you can't find that in almost any other industry.
I'm going to cut you off right here.
What?
I never get to talk to anybody whenever we're climbing because they're like 2 miles in front of me, dude.
Robert, hurry up. Like, to me, like that to me is like what mountain biking is about. Like, it's like I'm looking at these comments and I'm like, the fact that I got to meet half these guys who are listening and I know their face and I know a little bit about who they are and they do to me too. I'm like, that's what I love about mountain biking. Like, it's not, if it was just about the trails, would we still do it? Yeah, but it's about the people that make it way more fun. Everybody knows when you go with somebody else on the trail, you're going to have twice as much fun, right? Yeah. So like, to me, my concern is e-bikes might lose that some. And currently for me, because of the price point, for most people, they don't have them. And so for me and my friend group, nobody I know has one. And as soon as they start getting them, I'll get one, but I'm going to be like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of like in that spot too, where it's like, man, that's an expensive bike to have that I'm not going to ride all the time, right? You know,
you would ride it all. I would ride it and that's the other thing is like, why have I never tried crack cocaine? Because I know I'll probably like it, right? Like,
then I'll have to try heroin. I didn't want to do that either.
Like, I'm not dumb. Like, I know it's going to be like, oh, I love this. I can get way more laughs. But then again, like, do I want to be the guy that's just like e-bikes? It's like, nah, not yet. Maybe one day.
I think the other end of it though is like, you have to like come to that decision collectively with all your friends that you ride with. Yeah. Because it's not like, because otherwise what's going to happen? Like, I'm going to get on my e-bike and now I'm going to wait at the top of the hill for 35 minutes for all my friends. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't sound fun.
No, you go to the top, ride down, go back up, meet them at the top. Like, oh, what'd you guys talk about? I don't care. Okay, let's go down. Yeah.
Oh God, you're selling me on it, dude. I'm getting rid of the Bronson now. I'm putting that thing on Craigslist as soon as we're done.
You're equating e-bike riders to XC guys. I'm like, yeah, that is exactly how I feel about cross-country riders. They wear spandex/latex, right? They don't give an F about anybody else because all they care about is Strava. And they are like this weird little like cult. And that's what e-bikes are right now. They just like, all right, when they fly by you, it's all of them have to hang out together because nobody else is cool enough for it. And they don't care about you. They just care about getting laps.
I think the thing that slows them down will be the trail advocacy stuff. I can't say that word very well, but I think what you'll see is some of these parks that have no e-bike rules out there, like enforcing it. And that's what's going to like stop people from like maybe going all in, you know, and until they can fix that kind of thing for trail access.
Yeah. And that's a big part of it. And that's where, you know, what a lot of, I've seen people comment talking about, hey, I'm a diabetic. Hey, I'm a 65-year-old woman. Hey, I had brain surgery. Like I know somebody that had brain surgery and they just don't have the capacity or lung problems. Like all those people, I'm like the biggest advocate in the world. Go buy an e-bike.
Yeah. 100%.
Go enjoy what other people can't.
Yeah.
The problem is go talk to guys on e-bikes 9 times out of 10. Oh, I can get way more laps on this thing. Oh, it's way easier, right? And Robert, you nailed it. Like trail advocacy. Like, and here's what people don't realize. most of the guys building the trails aren't on e-bikes because they spend more time building the trails.
Yeah.
And when more people ride trails, the more time you have to spend fixing them. Do you really want people riding your trails more? And people with e-bikes, for a lot of people that I've seen, I know this isn't everybody, they just don't put in the work. And that's the thing. If you're looking to be a weekend warrior to get a quick fix of a sport and you're not willing to put in the hard time to maintain it, that to me is what e-bike culture is about. And that is why I'm so against e-bike. It's not the people who desperately need it. It's the average weekend rider who doesn't give a rip is just going to do twice as more damage and not be willing to put the hard work in to help fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people don't do trail work though. And I think that's I can say, like, even myself, like, I definitely don't give back to the system as much as I take from it. And I think that as I've gotten older and like been able to kind of maybe more free time because my kids aren't so young and stuff like that, like, it's definitely something that I'm doing more of, or like joining some kind of group that you can pay some money to, at least pay your way into it, you know. But I do think that that's something that's really important for our sport, that a lot of us are always like, just kind of take it for granted, you know. Like, how'd all that poison oak get cleared up on that trail? I don't know, man. It just goes away every spring. It comes out for like a couple of weeks and then it just disappears.
Yeah. And I'm in no way a saint on this issue. I feel like if the world is like, have you ever seen the movie WALL-E, where it's like the future where everybody's like riding around like fat and happy, right?
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm fit like when it comes to trail building. I'm not the primary example, but I'm like a guy who's like, hey, the last year has changed my life, and I realize like how important this is, and I hope other people realize it. Yeah. And people said like very few people do trail work, and it's like, that's the thing, man. And here's the thing, like, let me get on my soapbox for a minute.
Yeah, let's hear it.
What videos on YouTube are doing the best right now? It's all about trail building. But all the trail building that goes on is like both Seth Alvaro on his private property, Seth Bike Hacks. Mm-hmm. There's the other Seth who has like property.
It's Seth's Bike Hacks, by the way.
I apologize.
I screwed that up on the show that I had him on. So.
Oh no. But you know, these guys are building really cool stuff, and everyone is just like, they're like clicking away every time. Like, I can't wait to see what you built. Yeah. And when I watch that stuff, I'm like, this is so cool. But you know what? What's more cool? To build something new that nobody else has built, or to maintain something that everybody enjoys? And not only that, nobody's built it and nobody's allowed to ride it. And for some reason, we cut our teeth on this new stuff because it's not sexy to maintain a trail. But like, where's the video of the people going into an old trail that has great bones, making it great, and now anybody who visits that area can come and explore it?
Make trails great again.
Yeah, hey, I'm out. Anyway, but that, like, you know, and Eric, my buddy up in BC, you know, he's building a new trail, but it's going to be open. I'm like, I think it's going to be open to everybody. I'm like, that's rad. Like, to me, I'm like, that right there, whether people realize it or not, you are creating the culture that you want to see. Like, we are embodying what we want to see. And what I'm embodying is, I don't want people to ride e-bikes because I don't want them to take advantage if they're healthy, normal people. And I want people to pay to play, or pay to play for what they do.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So, what's been keeping you busy lately, man?
COVID-19.
Yeah. You have a newborn as well, right?
Yeah, so I have 2 kids. I've been married for 8 years this month, which is pretty rad.
Dude, congratulations, man.
Yeah, my son is 3.5, and he just recently has figured out pedals. He's like been on one of those Strider bikes, but now he's pinning it on the pedals. He loves it.
That's awesome.
And then I have a 5-month-old, so but that's been a majority of my time.
Yeah. So has that affected the channel?
Yeah, absolutely. And I went into my daughter being born realizing, hey, I'm going into the 2nd year of sponsorship. I have a full-time job. Robert knows I have a full-time job. A lot of people don't realize that. I think people think that I just do full-time YouTube. Mm-hmm. But that takes up a lot of time and is continually taking up more time. So with my job and my family, YouTube has become the thing that it's like, I love making videos. I love the mountain bike community. But for right now, it's been most important to do those other two things much more. Yeah.
That's good though, man. I mean, like they're only little once. And I can tell you that you don't realize how fast it goes until they're like 21 years old. And you're like, holy crap, what happened? Like my son's going to turn 21 on his next birthday. Like he's going to be old enough to have a beer with me at the bar. Like that blows my mind. You know what I mean? Because like in my mind, like I can like snap. Like if I was to like put time to how long it feels since he was a newborn, I'd say like 8 years maybe. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like 20, you know? So it's definitely crazy that way. And I think that I can totally understand now like why grandparents like treat their grandchildren the way that they do. Yeah. Because it's like, dude, you once you've gone through like your kids totally growing up, you realize how important those times are. But when you're in that time, you're really fixated on like just trying to make it through it. Right. Yeah. You know, or you're like fixated on the next thing. You're like when your baby's born, instead of you being like, man, this is just awesome. It just sleeps on my chest and we can just hang out on the couch and it just sleeps and this is great. You're like, when's it going to sit? When's it going to say a word? When, you know what I mean? So you're like always like kind of like pressing on to this next thing. Like, oh, it'll be cool when my kids can actually go hiking with me. Oh, it'll be cool when my son can get on the trail with me. Oh, it'll be, you know what I mean? So.
And it wouldn't be a Daily Mountain Bike Rider interview / podcast if I didn't get a little like philosophical. But my buddy explained to me it this way. He goes, with everything that we do in our lives, like there's always like something that's super important. Like, yeah, I got to do this thing at work. It's so important because I can make more money, or I'm going to make the company happy and I might get a raise, right? Mm-hmm. For us, like, man, like I got to get this video out. This is great content. People are going to eat this up. I'm going to get more subscribers. I'm going to get more praise. I'm going to get more money. But it's like not just money. It's like the clout as well. And like the feeling of like, man, this feels so good. And he's like, no, what's funny? You know what? Like never has that same amount of importance is like spending time with your kids or like spending time with your significant other. It's like we don't treat that like we do the deadline at work. Yet in 10 years and 15 years, when your kid's 21 years old, are you going to look back and wish that you treated your work more or like urgently, or your YouTube channel? Are you going to wish that you spent, the time with your kids was more urgent and important? Yeah. And for me, that's done quite a number on me. Because like to get a little like real, like I've spent so much time on YouTube. And to me, it's addicting. Like the reward of the views and the profit and like getting a sponsor is like, man, I did this. Like I'm getting rewarded. People point to me, this is so sick. But like I've like, and once again,
100% like you too. It's not like another business where it could be like, you need to have somebody else help you build this house so that you can sell it, or whatever it is. Like it's like 100%. Your personality, I don't know what it is, dopamine or whatever it is that's like released when you get like a new subscriber or like the thumbs up or a good comment, but it's 100% addictive. There's no doubt about it,
And for me, like I like eat that up, but then at the end of it, it's like now I'm at a spot where it's like cool. Like I like right here, I have my 100,000 subscriber, and it's like I got that. And if you would have told me at 10,000 subscribers, like one, I'm going to get that. And two, like I was so like, whatever, like it doesn't matter. Right. And like, if you would have told me that, I'd be like, dude, what an idiot. Like, of course it matters. But like, and it's going to sound like a flex, but that's not the goal, right? Like I have the sponsors, I have the fully carbon bike that I didn't pay for. I have a steady income from doing nothing. Like I haven't posted a video for a while, but I'm still getting a steady income. It's like I have everything that I thought would make me happy. I could do YouTube full time, and I've turned that down multiple times. And yet at the end of it, it's fun and it's cool. But for me personally, it doesn't fill me up. Like it doesn't meet the needs that I thought it might. Right. Yeah. And
it's funny how that is.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a lot of life. Like these things we think we're going to make us so much happier, they do make us happier. They do satisfy for a time, yet then they fade into the mundane, and then we look for the next best thing. It's like a drug addiction. You get the hit, and it's good, but then it fades, and so you got to find another hit.
I mean, I am totally enjoying what I'm doing. I'm definitely not as successful as you are, but I will say the happiest that I've been doing YouTube was when I first started, when it was like brand new, like probably the first like 15 videos, you know, just where like you don't have a clue what you're doing. All you want to do is that. It's like, you know, it's like having a new girlfriend, right? You know, it's like you want to spend every minute together. You're like, she farts and you're like, oh, that was awesome. You know, like that's
silly.
Yeah, right. You know, like I feel like that is the best part. And after that, then you just get really sucked into being successful. And I feel like you put yourself into a lot of deadlines that maybe you don't need to, and like self-imposed kind of things, and then you start judging yourself off of other people. Like Josh started a year after me, and he has $100,000 or $100,000 subscriber plaque in the back of him, and I've been doing this for 3 years, and I'm still wishing that I could get to 10,000. You know, like how does that affect you? You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, I don't want to say like, I think for some people it would maybe it's jealousy or something like that. But like for me, I think I just end up using it as like see, dude, you're a failure. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like there's so many people that would like be so stoked to have the level of success that I have. And to me, I am instead now looking at it as like, obviously you're just not that good at it, man. You know?
I think it's attributed to Thomas Jefferson, but a lot of people say it like comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
Which is like, there's a lot of truth to that, man. Like when we pull out the measuring tape and we start comparing, all of a sudden we feel worse than or better than those around us, and it either puts us down or puts somebody else down. Like you're always putting somebody down. And so that's where, like, once again, like you nailed it. Like my favorite times was my favorite moment. Like this is gonna sound so weird. My favorite moment was the first time I met another YouTuber. And his name was Adam, and he had 3,000 subscribers. And I thought this guy was like, whoa. And I was like, hey man, let's go ride Doothy Hill, which is like an hour south of me. And I was like, let's do a meetup. Like you've got 3,000 people. I've got like 1,500. I'm sure we can get people to show up. And so like we do this meetup. The weather looks terrible. Like we go ride together, and Adam's like, dude, my channel's crap. Like yours is like going to the moon. And I'm like, nah, man, like you're killing it. And no one showed up.
No one showed up.
And on the way out, one guy who was like, his name was Josh, and you know, Josh looked like he was a little bit of a sketchy, shady dude. That may sound bad, but I don't think it would offend him. And he saw Adam. That was his name, my buddy. He's like, Adam, Trail Chasers, dude, and he was just like so stoked. and I just remember sitting there, and I just remember thinking like, how cool is that? Like, this guy has never met Adam, and Adam made his day. And Adam's like, hey, this is like Josh. Like this guy's gonna be something. And but I don't know why, but I think the joy of the unknown, like the joy of like, is there anyone out there? Like to me, that was so fun. And then slowly, it's like I see that like people are out there, and when you first do, you're like, what? You watch me? That's so crazy. But then like you nailed it. Like it just becomes what you do, and it doesn't become as sexy or as cool as it was, and it becomes like, yep, I have to edit another video. And I think that's what I miss. I miss the joy of not being able to wait, and excitement of making another video, or the idea of meeting somebody that watches what I make. And now like it's like I have that, and I'm like, I have to make another video. And someone's like, dude, I love your content. And I'm like, thank you for watching my content, but like I want to be your friend, and I want to know you as a human. I don't just want you to know me as the guy who makes content, right? It's an odd world, man. It's an odd place we live in.
Editing was really fun when I didn't know how to do it.
Wasn't it?
Like if I go back and watch any of my videos, I'm like, cut. Oh, went way too long there. Should have cut that. Up. Didn't color grade that day, did you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and now it's like, now I know, I feel like I'm pretty good at it at this point. Like, I'm not, you know, Steven Spielberg, but I got it down. And it's like such a laborious process. I thought it took a long time before. Now I'm like, oh yeah, you got to clean up that audio. You got to go get some sound. You got to go get this. You got to spend another 2 hours on your thumbnail or whatever the hell. It's like, oh my God, holy cow. But kind of circling back around, not that I'm jealous or whatever of the other guys out there. What I wanted to do was talk about how that kind of like got fixed for me. And it was actually my daughter, where I was like talking about, you know, my channel not doing well and whatever. And she's like, but Dad, you have like 8,000 subscribers. Like, I don't remember what the number was at the time we had the conversation. She's like, that's a lot of people. Like that's a lot. Like, yeah, okay, it's not 100,000, but that's still a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like you should be excited. Like, she's like, that's more people that are in my school. Like, you know, and you start thinking about it and you're like, okay, well, this many people I could fill up that stadium with if they were there. And you're like, all right, why am I beating myself up? Just enjoy what you're doing, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just enjoy what you're doing. And it's definitely like priceless every time that you meet somebody and they're like super excited about meeting you. Like, you're like, the ones that get me to it, and this is, I don't know who lets their kids pay attention to my stuff. I know I'm getting better at cleaning it up, but I tell you, sometimes when these kids come up and they're like, oh, I love your channel, and they just got this look of like they're meeting a celebrity on their face, and I'm like, first of all, where's your parents at? You got to talk with them.
Where are your parental supervisors? Right? You shouldn't be watching my stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
I hope you're watching it without the volume on. That's what's going on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to be listening to me. I'm definitely far from a good role model. But no, it's like, you know, that those moments, you know, are where you get like a message or an email from somebody that says, you know, hey, I broke my back, dude. And the whole time I was in the hospital, I watched your videos and made time go by. Thanks. And you're like, wow. I didn't think I was trying to do that. Like, I was just trying to go ride bikes and drink beers when I'm done. I didn't know.
I just drank too much in my garage one night. I didn't know that actually like helped you out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm glad it was good for you.
Yeah. And that's the truth, man. Like, your daughter makes a very valid point, right? Like, we still like, and that's the thing, is like, I set out to make videos to help people, like whether it was helping with bike skills or just entertaining somebody or taking the stress out of their day. And we still get that from other people on YouTube. And it's like, it's easy to forget that. And I think if anything, like, this is a good reminder for me. I could still do that. But seriously though, like, it is a good reminder.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I had to get to the point where I was ready to completely quit before I kind of like was able to kind of pull myself together and be like, dude, do this for the reason that you enjoy, not for like the reasons that make you feel bad. You know what I mean? Like, so at that point I was like, you know what? I don't need to release a video or 2 videos every week. Like, I'll do like 1 a month, because that allows me to like spend time with the lady and the kids and not be stressed out about it. And, you know, hey, maybe I'll do a podcast on Sundays. That only takes a couple hours.
There you go. And that's actually something that's been very much in the front of my mind. And in fact, I'm wrestling through some of it that I can't share too much of. But no, I kind of landed on like, I like the idea of being sponsored. I like the idea of like, hey, I have an outlet, I can represent a company, and that it's a win-win situation. But for me, it's like, it's made me lose my joy a little bit. Like, I love the joy of like making a video about whatever the heck I wanted to, that I thought was interesting. Right. And then now it's not that I can't do that. It's just that has to take a back seat to, all right, what's my commitment and what video do I need to put out because of my sponsorship? And so for me personally, like I'm already looking towards the next year and even the next month going, how do I set up my YouTube channel so that I can get that back, so that I don't feel this burden to create something, and instead I can either not have sponsors or only bring on sponsors, and maybe at a much lower rate, and just say, hey, here's what you can expect from me, here's what you can expect from me, and if you're not able to play, no worries at all. And then again, if they say yes, then that's the person you want to be sponsored by, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, totally. I feel like that's a good way to approach it, man. I mean, you got to keep yourself happy, and if you aren't, then you're not going to continue doing what you're doing.
And I'll just be straight. Like, the one thing is, like, I love comparing like other bike brands and like bike products, and like the new bike that came out. I used to love just pooping on everyone's cereal, like, oh, the Rhythmo's the best bike ever. I'm like, no, it's not, and I'll say it first. Like, I love that. And now I'm like, oh man, like, I can't even, like, I could ride the new bikes, but it has to be like super undercover. It's like, I would love to get back to like that. Brought me joy just to be a troll and just to be funny and try new stuff. And so
I try to like not take products to do reviews and stuff like that because of exactly what you just said. Like, so I don't have a sponsorship in the terms that you do, but like whenever you get something for free, typically you're getting it in terms of you're going to, talk about it in a video. Yeah. And it's like, sometimes like you get things that are offered to you that really don't have anything to do with your channel. And you're just like, well, I don't want that. And like, so here's a good example, right? They have these like things that are for your muscles that like kind of like it's not like a massager, it's just like kind of like beats you. It's like
steroid. Sure. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. What?
Steroid? No, you know what I'm talking about? It's like a percussion device or something like that, So like the lady has been talking about getting one of those for a while. And then I get one, as an offer of like, hey, do you want to like have this on the channel? And it's like, on one hand, it's like, well, I don't want to spend $200 for that thing. But I also don't want to do an edit of talking about that thing either. It's like, she's like, well, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to do that. Like, I think that would be interesting. Other people might want to get one too. And that's like, you'd be helping them. I'm like, yeah, but it like brings on this stress of like exactly what you just said a minute ago. It's like, no, I wanted to do a video about this other trail that I rode. But as soon as I get that dude's like, so when's the video coming out? When's it coming out? When's it coming out? Like, and you're like, oh, I guess I got to do that now. But that screwed up my plan for this other, it's like, it's just not that easy. And it just like, it gets like, it's more fun just to make your own content and do what you want to do,
That is the truth, man. And like, people don't understand like that pressure, like even if it is that like random Chinese like massager thing, it's that pressure, and like just like seeing the email that you don't want to reply to and like I don't reply to, that's like, I know I need to make a video about it. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, but I feel this pressure to like, it's not fun. And somebody asked me, it was a good question, like, why doesn't Josh have a Patreon? I do have a Patreon, and you should not support it. And I tried Patreon, and it was that additional pressure of like, if people are giving me money directly, like I need to create something unique enough for them. And that pressure to me, I was like, I can't do that. Like, I make enough just from YouTube and from my sponsors that I don't need to ask anybody for anything else. And now we're getting into a viewpoint on Patreon, which I'll just say it very like to the blunt and to the point. I personally do not think most people should get Patreons unless they are patrons, unless they're extremely clear, like, hey, I need this for this, or hey, I don't need this, but this is why I would like you to do this anyway, which I think you do a good job of, Robert. And that's like what my current Patreon is like, hey, I'm not going to give you anything, but if you like my channel and you want to give me $2 a month, I'll take it. And people still do it. I'm like, thanks, guys.
I was going to say, I don't have any sponsors or make enough money from YouTube to be like, I don't need a Patreon. So those of you guys that are listening that want to continue hearing the Biker Bar podcast or seeing my monthly biker channel videos, join my freaking Patreon, because without it, I will stop doing YouTube. Because
and see right there,
money is not showed up for me. So I need Patreon. If you guys want some stickers, it's $5 a month. You'll get a sticker pack. If you just want a beer in my beer fridge, it's $1 a month, and you get access to the coupons that I have on there. You'll definitely save more than $12 off the coupons that I have. And you can get Patreon, and then you can be proud.
And people, you have to realize, like, that beer is directly fueling this interview right here. So you have to make Robert.
100%.
Yeah, you have to become a patron.
If I didn't have patrons, there would be no empty beer bottles behind me. You guys would be just looking at some dumb window.
And see, for me, it's the exact opposite plea of like, hey guys, if you become a Patreon, I'm not going to make videos because I'm going to feel indebted, and then I'm going to have too many things I have to do, and it's going to cause me to want to do nothing. So don't do it. Go make Robert your Patreon thing, not me. And then me and him will both keep making videos. It'll be great. So
tell me about dailymtbrider.com, because I was looking it up. I found it out there.
Yeah.
It has the little icon that comes next to the URL. That's your icon.
Yeah.
But the page itself says coming soon. And I'm pretty sure it's been that way for a long time.
Since December, because I had a site and you could buy stickers and t-shirts, but then I was constantly having to mail out stickers and t-shirts and I wasn't making money from it. And I'm like, why am I committing? And this makes me sound so lazy, but if you go back to like the conversation about family, it's like, I want to make like goofy, funny, or just me videos on YouTube that people enjoy. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Like, I don't want to have to ship out stickers every day and have somebody go, I made an order 2 weeks ago when literally your daughter was born, but I didn't know that. And I haven't got my stickers yet. And I'm like, I don't care about your stickers, man. My daughter was born. And then I'm like, hey babe, I know that you like are tired because you've been like feeding a child, that I need to go to the post office to deliver these stickers.
If I don't get this kid these stickers right now, we're gonna be the houses might get burned down.
Yeah. And so anyway, the reason I don't have a website, I don't have a membership on YouTube, I don't have a Patreon is because I'm 29 years old with 2 young kids, and I said, to heck with it. I ain't need that junk. I'm fine. So that's why.
Well, the Squarespace background that's on there with the water moving around saying it's coming soon or something like that is very relaxing. So you can just go there and stare at the website, and maybe someday, according to what's written on there, it's coming soon. So
yeah,
soon is relative though. It could be like if you believe in Pangea, I mean, maybe they were like coming soon, 7 continents.
Yeah. And I don't crap on anybody who's like, hey, support the channel, follow me on Patreon, go do this on Instagram or whatever. I'm just like, hey, you want to follow the channel? Like, if I put out a video, that's good, watch it. If I don't watch it. Like, there we go. That supports me. And once again, it's not anything else anybody else does I think is bad. I just realized, like, for me in my life right now, like, that's what I can do, and I think that for me that's got to be good enough. And if it's not, I understand.
What's your favorite video that you made?
My favorite video that I've ever made is probably still my scooter and putting a bike rack on it. To me,
yeah, that was good.
That was just like, it was a dream I always had, and I was like, I don't have a lot of money to spend, but I'm going to make it happen, and I made it happen. And everyone who saw me was honking and pointing and laughing, and they just thought, like, this guy is the dumbest guy in the world, and I love that. And my mini truck video is probably the second one for the same reason.
I was going to say, what happened to the truck, man?
Oh, I still have it. It's stored at my parents' house, and my wife wants me to sell it, and I keep trying to push it off, and I'm like, babe, COVID. Yeah. And she's like, that has nothing to do with you selling your mini truck. I'm like, but babe, people have gotten COVID, therefore. And then I just walk away. So anyway,
You ever watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yes.
It reminds me of something like Charlie would say, like,
Yeah. Well, you see, the front right axle sometimes veers to the right, and so it's traffic hazards.
Yeah,
You really didn't say anything. What? So anyway, I still have the mini truck. It still runs great. It's stored at my parents' place. They live like 15 minutes away, and I'm gonna make 2 more videos. One video where I want to take it 4x4ing, just because that would be the funniest video ever.
Yeah.
And the mini truck embodies what I love. I love making videos that make people go, "What is wrong with this guy?" And I'm just I
want the mini truck with the scooter in the back of it with the bike on the scooter.
Yeah, like the triple inception self-shuttler.
Yeah, well, because you can totally like you got your vehicle at the bottom, and then you drive the scooter to the top, then you ride your bike down, and then you go back up and get your scooter. I mean, it's basically like an e-bike, except for like with 2 vehicles.
Yeah, it's a gas bike. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, there's nowhere to shuttle in Bellingham right now, unless it's like unsanctioned trails. So yes, I do want to make that video. But anyway, the scooter bike video and the mini truck video are probably my 2 favorite, just because they're goofy and they're funny, and that's what I'm all about.
Yeah. So I want to ask you this. I know you're going to sidestep it. Have you talked to your patrons about what you do for a job?
No,
for your subscribers. Haven't. You have never told your subscribers.
Robert, I am ready to tell the world. I have no reason not to tell people. If you want it to be revealed, yeah, I'll tell everybody on your podcast. And
are you dead serious? I didn't really. I thought you were just going to give me like your normal Josh kind of answer. I work for the FBI.
No, dude, I will tell people, Robert. You could even make your own little video clip about this.
It'll be a clip if you tell me. It's definitely going to be a clip.
So when I first started the channel, I did not tell people what my job was, and I'll explain why now. But it soon became like kind of a fun thing, right? Like people would be like, "What's he do? Like, is he a teacher? Is he an FBI agent?" And I'm like, "Nah." And I would always say, like, "I love my job, but I don't want to talk about it. Like, it's just kind of what I do, and I just want to enjoy mountain biking." And
I always said you were in marketing. I thought you were in marketing.
Yeah, and you thought that, and other people did too, because of like my logo and stuff. And what I actually do is I am a pastor at a Christian church, which is super interesting. People in the comments.
How are all the people in the comments know this, right? So you've like secretly been telling everybody, huh?
I always told people on the channel, like, hey, if you meet me in real life, I'll tell you what I do in real life. And for me, it became more of like it was just super interesting to see how people responded. And almost everybody always responds in the same way. They're like, oh, like that's like, I know what that is. That's very interesting. A lot of people are like, I'm not really like, I don't really know what you do, like, but that's cool. And you like mountain biking and you're a good dude. So I like you. And you're like, oh, cool. And so that's like, I literally, Robert, this is what I did. Like you and I have talked about, you're like, yeah, I like to tell people I'm a garbage man. It'd be like telling somebody like, yeah, I'm a morticianist. Like I like process dead bodies. And people would be like, wow, like I know people do that. That's very interesting. I don't know hardly anything about it besides the fact that one day you'll process my body, but good for you. And that's exactly how people treat the fact that I'm a pastor. Yeah. So I was a youth pastor. So I worked with middle school and high school students. Now I'm a associate pastor, which is basically, it's like not like the main guy at the church. It's like a secondary dude, but
you're like the right hand man. You carry all the bags, and now you're not just doing coffee anymore.
Yeah,
they let you pick up the donut. You get to pick out the donuts too.
I get the donuts and the dry cleaning, right? So, and so
I think what it is that you were a youth pastor, and you're just like sticking with your people as they get older.
There we go. That's exactly what it is.
So you'll be pastor by the time that they're all like out there in the congregation.
Exactly. Yes, you nailed it. But no, and what I came to realize, like what I said is like most people are like, oh, that's just super interesting. But I realized too, like religion's pretty taboo. But as a lot of you who have met me in real life, like realize, like I love people for who they are. Like if I believe that, I believe in God. Some people don't, but I still love them as people. Like, and we still love mountain biking. And
yeah, believe me, he's friends with me. So
we're like good friends, right? Like, and unfortunately, just like in any industry, there's like people who get bad reps. Like, yes, there's some Christians who get really bad reps of like having to stick up their butt and just being a bad time. And I'm like, yeah, I don't like those people either. But anyway,
Right.
but no, so yeah, that's what I do. And at the end of the day, that's my top priority, and mountain biking has always been second. And it's kind of odd that like my core belief, like my religious belief, is directly tied in with my job. And so because of that, YouTubing and mountain biking has always come second to that. Like we're actually like third behind my family. But for me, that's why I'm not a full-time YouTuber. Like I had an option to become a full-time YouTuber. Like the budget added up. I had the skills. I could pump that sucker and grow the channel, and it would be fine. But for me, at the end of the day, like I realized, like, would I feel personally fulfilled making videos for YouTube, or would I feel fulfilled being my job as a pastor, like leading people spiritually? And I was like, you know what? Like that is what really fills me up. And YouTube is like, it's a really fun thing that still fills me up, but just not as much. So that's why, that's like also answers the question of like why I don't do YouTube full time, like everybody else who's my size. So
yeah, no, it's interesting. It's definitely, I bet that was kind of like a tough decision to kind of come to, like, because on one hand you're growing the channel, and from the time that you have one subscriber until you get to that point, like that is your goal, right? You're like somewhere in the back of your mind, even if you tell everybody you don't want to do YouTube full time, you're like, but if I could, that would be really fun, And so like once you get to that point and you have it as an option, then it's like, oh, well, like you really had to take a hard look at it and decide. Was that tough to come to, or was it pretty easy? Like, no, I actually love what I do better.
It was tough. Like for me, it was very tough because I was like, hey, like I could just like help out as like a part-time employee or for free and like help what other people do. And if people aren't like raised in a church, it's kind of like odd to explain. But anyway, I was like, yeah, like I could still just be like a really good member and like, whatever. Yeah. But I was like, you know what? Like, and my wife would tell you, she was like, yeah, you could do it full time, but it's really nice just to have like additional income for things like retirement and college investing, like so my son actually can pay for him to go to college and stuff. And so anyway,
it'll all be free by then anyway, don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just be we'll be the country of Mexico anyway.
Just send me the money, dude. It's good. join my Patreon. There's a spot where you can just pick how much you want to put in there.
Thousands of dollars.
Yeah, you have all this money from all this sponsors. Obviously the dump truck load of YouTube money showed up at your house, and you could just like make a little deferral over there.
Yeah, but my goodness, I'll talk about that in a sec. But anyway, yes, I did make that call, and it was a tough one, I think, at the time. But I really did like settle with the fact of like I sleep better at night, and I know I'm going to be fulfilled doing my job that I love. And YouTube, it's not going anywhere for me. It's still something really fun to do.
Yeah.
So, that's where I landed. And now on this side of it, it's like, yeah, it's actually really nice. Like it is nice. Like I said, 401k, kids call it fun. I did pre-order a Tesla truck. I bought a new truck a couple of months ago. It's very nice. And that's like additional like blessings of like, this is so cool. I wouldn't have been able to do this, but because I make goofy videos of me busting my nuggets on a mountain bike, like people, watch. But Robert, on the thing of like sending you a check, I would love to send you a check for millions of dollars because, as you know, Robert, I make millions on my YouTube
I'm really
channel.
happy now.
But the truth is, at the end of the day, after you pay taxes for the money you do make from like YouTube alone, it doesn't end up being as much as you thought. And then this is the reality that you and I both live in, is that even though I make more money, it just means I spend way more money on YouTube stuff.
Believe me, I know, dude.
We're always in the hole, man.
I like to joke around about it, but I totally know exactly where you're coming from. I remember there was a time in my life when I must have been in my early 20s. And like, I remember thinking like, if I could only make $30,000, if I could make $30,000 a year, like I would have so much extra money. Like I remember thinking like, man, like that would like, like that. The rent would be easy to pay. We'd be able to go do whatever we want. Like, I definitely make well over that now. And I'm still like looking at
like
this number.
33,000? Is that how
I
much?
think
Anyway,
like,
keep going.
like, yeah, you're right. 33 and a half.
There we go.
But it's like, you're always just looking a little bit further out. It's like you definitely just spend more. You get a more expensive car or a bigger house or go on more vacations, or like we go out to eat a lot.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize how much money I was spending on us going out to eat until COVID, because it's like all of a sudden I'm like buying the same amount of bike parts that I normally buy, but for some reason my bank account is like not empty, and I'm like,
I have $1,000 more in there.
Right? I thought something like I literally thought I forgot to pay a bill or something. I was like, "There's no way. Like, where did all this money come from?" And then I realized, like, I'm not buying lunch every day. We're not going out to dinner a couple of times a week. And, it's just like all these little things that went away when we were all of a sudden just inside. And I was like, damn, I should have bought more bike parts.
Well, an interesting side note, once again, not to get too like philosophical, but I read something interesting. I did a little bit of research on it. In a book I was reading, they were saying that the pinnacle of happiness for paycheck, like regardless of where you live, whether you live in San Jose where gas costs like $22 a gallon, or you live in podunk middle of nowhere, they say once you hit $75,000 a year, the more money you make, you will not become more happy. Like up until then, like, hey, you're able to do more vacations or plan more for the future. But after you hit that point, like it's just more mo money, mo problems. And like I did some research on that and like thought about it for myself, right? Because with my job plus YouTube, I do make more than that now. I was like, man, like that to me has like become true. Like it really is. Like the more money you have, the nicer the vehicles you buy, or the more hobbies you have, therefore the more money and time you invest in those things. Like it doesn't bring about more happiness. It brings about more crap or fun things that take a lot of time and stuff. Anyway, I just thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, like here's a good example. Before I had my YouTube channel and I was making money from Patreon, please join my Patreon, I had to work on my bike all the time, right? Because there is no way I'm paying somebody $35 or $40 to, I don't know, like get my shifting dialed in, right? Because A, I couldn't afford it, and B, I couldn't afford it. So the only way it was going to happen was C, do it yourself, dude. And now it's like, okay, well, I have like, let's say some income coming from that. And it's, do I have the time to go out and spend X amount of time in my garage, like thinking around with that? Or can I take it to the shop, have somebody else work on it? And then I can, use my time doing something that's, more beneficial, or spending with my family, or editing instead of, you know what I mean? Like, because running the YouTube channel, it takes a lot of time. Like it is definitely not the commitment that I thought I was getting into when I decided I was going to have a channel,
Yeah.
And I think that's, one of those things. So yeah, I agree with you, man. 75,000. That sounds about right. So I got about 40 grand more to go, and then I should be there.
Yeah. Well, you said 33, so it's only 41 and a half, Robert. 41 and a half. You'll get there.
I do Common Core math, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. And Robert, just remember, you don't have to pay for bike maintenance as long as your spare room's open for me, and then I do it all for you when I get there, because I see how messed up your bike is. And then I do remember that. And then I see Moonlight Leatherfoot's bike, and then I shut my mouth. I'm like, your bike is great. There's nothing that needed to be fixed.
Nothing to touch there. That's right. Didn't I talk you into putting my tires on or something like that?
Yeah, you're like, I had the tire. I was meaning to put it on, and you were like holding a beer, like I had that tire. And anyway,
I think the tire had like 3 plugs in it, and you're like, dude, you're not riding Downeyville with this, and I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. And you're like, no, seriously, you can't be doing that. And I was like, it'll be fine, dude. I've been riding like that for a couple of weeks.
You didn't ask me to do anything. I just realized how stupid you were in your bike maintenance, and I was like, this guy's gonna die if I don't help him. And so then again, I was like, I could let him die, but then I would feel guilty.
Right?
So, yeah.
You're like, my channel's not big enough for this really to go viral. So
True.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, no, I totally forgot about that. I do take advantage of my friends, though. I will do that. I definitely will be like, hey, dude, come over and help me work on my bike. And then I'll drink beer and then they'll do it.
There you go. Yeah, that's why you make friends with the VeloFix guys. Yeah.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Except for the guy that I was friends with is not doing the truck anymore. So
I saw that. Yeah.
he's working in the back office or doing something. I don't know what he's not in the van. That's all I know. And I'm like, so how do I approach this with the new guy? Like, the other dude used to like help me out like financially on this thing.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Now I'm back to working on my own bike again.
Hey, I will say the one thing that I have loved being a YouTuber, I don't know if you've got this with a local shop, is getting in with a local shop and getting shop employee pricing on stuff is a game changer. I'm sorry if I tell people how the bacon's made, but that's like the best thing in the world.
Yeah, no, I definitely like the discounts. That I would have spent the money anyway. But this is the thing.
True.
I don't think I'm probably spending the same amount of money, but now instead of having one bike, I have two. Right.
Yep.
So
yeah, and then you come into my world and I have like 6 bikes and I'm like, I thought 6 bikes would be so cool. And now I'm like, I can't wait to sell all these bikes and just have one bike again.
Really? Let me think what I got. One.
You have more than I do, I think.
I have 4 of my own in this garage.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
There, and you've been in this garage. There's bikes all over the place. So that the lady has a couple of bikes, kid has a couple of bikes. I got rid of some because Trent moved out because he went in the military. So
yeah, that
was like a road bike and a mountain bike that I got rid of, or just a mountain. I can't remember anymore. I think just a mountain bike. Yeah, because when we rode road, I would just ride my single speed.
Well, and you'd have to wear spandex and latex, and that's just a.
I'm not one of those guys. I still dress like a mountain biker on a road bike. And I like give
man.
Oh, dude, I just give everybody dirty looks. And like they look at me and they're like, obviously this guy hasn't been riding very long. Look at the size of his belly.
I honestly, every time I see a big guy on a road bike, I'm like, that's what I think about road biking. It's just big dudes pedaling around like eating donuts, like, yeah, I burned so many calories, munch. And you're like,
I don't understand why they do that. And then they wear all these like super tight clothes. It's like, dude, you're fat, man. You can't be wearing that. Like it looks good on the 120-pound chick or the 155-pound dude. It looks all right. But when you're freaking 270, dude, hang it up, man. You're not like getting any more like extra like velocity out of your suit that you're wearing. You're not winning a gold medal, dude. You're not even going to be in the same zip code as Lance Armstrong. You're not. So wear a baggy shirt, wear some baggy shorts, go out there and don't look like a sausage. Please.
But then again, Robert, I just want to let you know, at the end of the day, if you have a significant other and you're worried about what other people of the same sex or the opposite sex think about you, then like maybe you should reprioritize, because like if I look like an elephant stuffed into a sausage casing, I think I'm beautiful just the way I'm in, and so does my wife. So if you're like, dude, you look awful, like you look so fat, I'm like, you like what you see? Like, I don't care.
Oh my God, dude. That's just awful.
Hey, round is the shape
sausage right now.
Oh, dude,
I'm sure you put on some weight with that with the baby. You just start eating with the lady.
I think I'm like 40 pounds heavier than when I started my YouTube channel, and I keep thinking, this month I'll start.
It's the story of my life. Somebody said something to me a long time ago, and I think about it all the time. They're like, man, I wish I was as fat as I was the last time I thought I was fat.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Like the last time I thought I was fat was like 40 pounds ago, and I'm like, man, I'd be cool if I was that fat again.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I hit 180 again. What am I doing with my life? And now I'm like, man, I was doing everything right with my life.
Oh Lord, well, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, so we're getting ready to wrap up. Let's do a couple of quick ones here. What? Now I just totally forgot what I was going to ask you. Oh, what YouTube channels do you watch? What do you like to watch?
I really like Mark Rober recently.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy who works for NASA, and he does he just did a video on squirrels. Like, just look up Mark Rober and squirrels during COVID. That's the best video I've seen in a long time.
All right.
But my favorite YouTuber is this guy named William Osman, who is he's like an electrical engineer. No, his buddy is an electrical engineer. Anyway, the dude's a crazy genius. He loves cats. He is as quirky as can be, and nothing makes me laugh more than that guy. I've actually, like, sad thing, I haven't watched much mountain bike YouTubing. I used to like watch it religiously,
Right.
And then I would watch a little bit, and right now it's like very, very slim to none.
I used to do at like my biker camps, I'd always do Jeopardy.
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of it would be like based off of like people's content that they put out. And I'm like, man, I'm glad COVID happened, because I don't know what I would do to come up with Jeopardy questions right now, because I'm not watching as much of the mountain biker stuff either.
Yeah.
I'd have to call a friend. I'd call everybody up and have them write their own questions. Hey, give me a good question about you, dude.
Yeah. Oh, there's one more channel I gotta share, because I like can't get enough of it. It's called Cart Narcs. So everyone knows like what a narc is, and it's this guy. He's on some radio show, and like I guess they came up with this idea of like, he's like, don't you hate it when people have a shopping cart and they just leave it in the middle of a parking spot or put it up on a curb, and they're just lazy and they don't put it back in the cart return. And this guy's like, know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make magnets, and I'm going to videotape me calling people out, and I'm going to tell them I'm a cart narc. I don't work for the store. All I do. And so literally it's just like all these videos of like grown people, and this guy's like, and he just walks up to people and just like, whoop, 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 scoodly doop. Ma'am, you did not put your cart back the right way. And they're like, don't you work here? Like, aren't I giving you a job? And he's like, no, I do not work here. I work for the cart narcs, and I'm narking you out. And he always says his line's always, he's like, cause you're a lazy bones. I'm like, what? Like, he doesn't say like you're a lazy F. It's not it's just like you're a lazy bones. And all these grown adults act like 2-year-old children. Like, I worked hard all day. I'm not putting that cart back. Or, oh, this is how you spend your time, guy. Is this really how you spend your time? And the guy's like, well, I'm going to put this magnet on your car. And then people are like, you can't touch my car. And he's like, ma'am, I can't touch your car. That's not illegal. And then he touches their car. And he's like, this isn't invasive of property. And I literally, like, I just would watch this guy, and I'm like, this is my favorite YouTube channel I've ever seen, because he's just giving no F's and just telling people, put your carts back.
That's pretty good, man. I'm definitely gonna have to check that one out. It's always interesting when I ask that question, because there's so much content out there. You know, it's just like unbelievable amounts of channels and people out there, and it's really cool. It's actually, what a great medium that we're lucky to be part of, right? Yeah. Sweet, dude. Holy crap, man. You got the 2 hours out of me. I was worried at the beginning. I was like, man, I don't know if I could talk to this dude for 2 hours. How much did I pay him again? I can't remember how much I paid him again.
I think it was like half your salary, so like at least $5,000. Anyway,
you're in, dude. You're in.
Steve Y says all he's going to do now is watch the rest of Cart Narc. Steve, I'm so sorry. You're going to get addicted, dude. It's hilarious.
Oh, it sounds like I'm in for the night too. So that's definitely going to happen. Any advice to people starting a channel before we take off?
Yeah. Make videos that you want to watch, and don't stop making them. I get asked that all the time. Mm-hmm. If you make videos that you yourself would be excited to click on and view, then other people would be excited to click and view on those as well. And if you do that and keep making videos, you'll go to the moon.
That's awesome, man. Good advice, dude. Definitely is. So let's wrap this up, man. I really appreciate you being on the show, dude. It's definitely a great time chatting with you. We used to have a lot of late night conversations and sometimes have a couple of beers and chat, but obviously with the little baby, that's not been happening much. So I guess I'm gonna have to come up there after the COVID or something.
Dude, please do.
That'll be fun. We can do a video once you get your Tesla truck with your baby truck inside of the Tesla truck, with the scooter inside of the baby truck, with the bike on top of the scooter.
and then we'll have Leonardo DiCaprio on the top with like a spinny top, just watching it.
It's definitely gonna happen. I could just stand out the sunroof like with my arms spread, like out on the front of the boat or something, you know.
There we go.
So anyways, let's do this. I got buttons to push. Check this out. Here's a code for Tasco that I was talking about earlier because they sponsored the show and you got to hear it because they sponsored it, or I was going to do it anyway. Who knows, right? But either way, so they got great products. Check out this link, bit.ly/B1Tasco. It'll take you over there. You can get 15% off. Pick up the new shorts. That's a great price. Good. They're amazing. They will change your life. You will honestly question why you bought cheap shorts in the past. The summer gloves are a must right now.
Yeah, I heard you don't need an e-bike if you buy their new shorts.
Just the e-bikes go away. The other thing that I wanted to say earlier too is they have some shirts on there that are made for riding. They're like half cotton, half something else, like baby Jesus hair or something like that. But the thing that is great about them is they wick the sweat a little bit, but they're also longer. So if you are still wearing the cheap shorts where your butt falls out, they're long enough to keep your butt crack shut, like hidden. I like that. So that's it's a plus. So definitely.
That's the best sales pitch I've heard in a long time, man. These YouTube ads got nothing on you.
They don't know what they're doing until they come and sponsor the Biker Bar podcast. And that's the way it goes. Hey, once again, definitely. If you guys haven't already subscribed to the channel, definitely do that. It makes me happy, and then I don't have to take drugs. And we all know from the conversation earlier, you don't want to see me starting crack because Josh will have to do it then, and then we'll move on to heroin. Don't do that. Hit subscribe, hit like button, tell your friends about it, share it, whatever you got to do. The other thing is next week, same time, same channel, it's going to be Jordan Boostmaster. I haven't talked to him yet. That'll be a really fun one because I don't know much about him, so it's going to be definitely a little bit inquisitive. Thanks again, Josh. I really appreciate it. You're an awesome guest. I can't wait till I guess you can come back on episode 100. So now that you did episode 50 with me, everybody out there, remember it only takes a bike to be a biker. So get out and be one. Oh, let's see if we can end this.